Today on Steelers Talk, I've got the top 5 Steelers draft targets in round 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft, according to ESPN NFL Draft Analyst Mel Kiper Jr. Before we get into today's edition of Steelers Draft Rumors, before we get into it, guys, make sure you guys click that subscribe button because we're going to be having in-depth Steelers draft content on this channel just about every single day this offseason, getting you guys ready for the big day in Green Bay this spring. In-depth prospect analysis and scouting reports on all the top guys the Steelers are targeting, positional rankings that all the team needs that the Steelers need to address this offseason, then also weekly Steelers mock drafts where I let you guys know my thoughts on the players that the Steelers should be targeting in the 2025 NFL Draft at every single round. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button for extensive Steelers draft coverage. And first up here, let's talk about team needs. Because if we're going to have the discussion about draft targets when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, particularly in round 1, we have to talk about the positions that the Steelers are going to be looking at. All right, so I think that the top 3 positions that the Steelers are going to be looking at come draft time: running back, wide receiver, and cornerback. These are the positions of need that I think hold the most weight and the most value for that first-round pick. And I think that, moving forward, I do think that wide receiver is probably the favorite at this point, unless they can get a guy like Ashton Jani out of Boise State, somebody that they truly feel like is a game changer. I don't think running back is going to be the pick. There's lots of good running backs you could get on day 2, so it really has to be a game changer for it to be a running back. And then, honestly, I think they're going to take care of the second cornerback position in free agency, so that would leave wide receiver as the most likely position, in my opinion, that the Steelers will spend their first-round draft pick on this spring. But, Jack, what about defensive linemen? I've been seeing a lot of people, project defensive tackles to the Pittsburgh Steelers in round 1 as well. And although I think that defensive line, but specifically nose tackle, is going to be important for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't think it's going to be a priority in round 1 because I don't want to take a nose tackle in the first round of the NFL Draft. You can get one of those guys on day 2 or even day 3. And the reason why I want a nose tackle and not a penetrator like a 5 technique or a 3 technique is because I want the Steelers to move Keanu Benton from nose tackle to either 5 technique moving forward or 3 technique once Cam Hayward eventually retires. The reason why I say this is because Keanu Benton is kind of light for a nose tackle. He's just over 300 pounds, and he does a fine job at that position, don't get me wrong. But, he's more of a penetrator. He always has been. He's always been more of a game wrecker as a pass rusher, and you can't really do that if he's getting double-teamed at the 1 technique and as the nose tackle time and time and time again. So I think the best strategy for the Steelers is to move Keanu Benton, a dynamic pass-rushing threat, up the middle to the 5 technique moving forward, and then draft a bigger body on day 2 or day 3. Here are some of the top defensive tackle prospects according to Mel Kiper Jr. He's got Mason Graham out of Michigan, Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss, Derek Harmon's really good out of Oregon, Shamar Stewart is kind of a hybrid. He could kind of play 5 technique if the Steelers wanted to target him. Then Kenneth Grant, another Michigan defensive tackle, is also very good. But like I said, guys, although there's lots of really good, probably round 1 capable defensive tackles out there in the draft class this year, I don't think it's the position that the Steelers should be looking at this year. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section which position should be the priority for the Pittsburgh Steelers in round 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft. Let me know down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds, and when that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. So the first name on Kiper's top 5 draft targets in round 1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, number 21 on his big board, Luther Burden III, wide receiver out of Mizzou. Now, I'm a big fan of Luther Burden. I'll share my thoughts on him in just a second here, but this is what Mel Kiper Jr. had to say on Luther Burden. Burden is an explosive playmaker who really stands out after the catch, using his quickness and elusiveness to pick up extra yards. He tracks the vertical throws well and makes some big plays down the field. And guys, if Luther Burden III falls to you at number 21, you run the card up to the table, all right? Look at he's born to wear the black and gold, baby. I mean, look at that. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he is a dynamic route runner, gets open, creates separation very, very frequently. He's also a downfield threat. He's got great body control and hands to win contested ball situations. And then also he is dynamic with the ball in his hands after the catch. So, the modern NFL is really shifting more towards receivers that are good after the catch, guys that can take a 5-yard, in route and, take it to the house, guys like that. And Luther Burden III is certainly somebody that can do that. And he also shows other high-end skills like, the ability to pluck the football with his hands out of the air instead of having to rely on body catches. Like, he does a lot of really good stuff at a really high level. And honestly, I think that this is somebody that probably won't make it to the Steelers pick at number 21. But if he does, you have to run the card up to the podium. Before we get to the rest of Mel Kiper Jr.'s top 5 Steelers draft targets in round 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Public Rec. And let's be real, guys. Wearing uncomfortable clothes just isn't worth it anymore. Why settle for stiff, restricting fabric when you can have something that looks sharp and feels as comfy as your favorite sweats? This year, make the switch to Public Rec where comfort rules. Public Rec isn't just about pants. It's about making sure you stay comfortable no matter what your day throws at you. They have so many great style options that are perfect for just hanging around the house, drinking beers on the golf course, or even when you need to impress the boss in the office. Whatever pants you choose, you'll be blown away by how comfortable they are. For a limited time, our listeners can get 20% off your entire order with code CHAT at publicrec.com. That's CHAT20, by the way. That's 20% off when you use our promo code CHAT20 at publicrec.com. Guys, I'm currently wearing one of the Public Rec t-shirts that I have here. It's the long sleeve Henley. It's absolutely awesome because, even though it's black, I can wear it during the summers because it's got the most breathable fabric you will ever wear. Plus, it's super stretchy, and it's super comfortable to wear no matter if you're just hanging around the house watching Netflix or watching the football game with the boys, or whether you're at the office like I am today and you're putting in a hard day's work. Make your New Year's resolution as a comfortable one. No more pants that pinch, tug, or annoy. For a limited time, you can get 20% off at Public Rec by using code CHAT20 at checkout. Just head on over to publicrec.com, use code CHAT20, and you're all set. Oh, and when you ask how you found them, be sure to mention our show, Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. It really helps us out. Find your perfect fit and never compromise on comfort again. Public Rec, where comfort rules. Okay, now let's get to Siobhan Revel Jr., defensive back out of East Carolina. Mel currently ranks at number 17 on his big board. And let me tell you, man, Siobhan Revel Jr. is somebody that I think a lot of Steelers fans are going to fall in love with because of his physical skill set. This is what Kiper had to say in his notes. Revel's 2024 season ended with a torn ACL after 3 games, so teams will be paying close attention to his recovery over the next few months. He came out of East Carolina in 2022 after a few years at Lewisburg College, and his physical traits and speed have impressed scouts. He's big and long, and his ability to locate the ball down the field helps him make plays. So listen, man, Mike Tomlin is very well known as somebody that takes pedigree and physical skill set over necessarily NFL readiness when it comes to drafting draft prospects and rookie players, and that's certainly Siobhan Revel Jr. All right, this is somebody that I think has an excellent physical skill set. He might even make my Sperry Psychos list this year because he's got the long arms, he's got the speed, he's got the instincts both in man and in zone coverage. But I think that when you look at Siobhan Revel Jr. and you look at drafting a corner period in the NFL draft in round 1, it's like, would you get more value out of a running back? Would you get more value out of getting a wide receiver? I mean, I think that Mike Tomlin is very, very established with his track record that when he drafts cornerbacks, he doesn't really play them super right away, especially not to begin a season. So if you're looking for a legit number 2 starting corner to put on the other side of Joey Porter Jr., especially with a guy like Siobhan Revel coming off that ACL injury, I'm not too sure if he's the right man for the job, but I love his physical skill set. Number 3 on Mr. Mel Kiper Jr.'s list of Steelers draft targets in round 1, Tetairoa McMillan, T-Mac out of Arizona, currently ranks him number 8 on his big board right now. This is what Kiper has to say about the stud receiver from the Wildcats. McMillan is a big-bodied receiver who can be a mismatch for smaller corners. And his great size, body control, concentration, and hands help him consistently win in contested catch situations. He can snatch the ball and make it look easy. And while McMillan plays with more physicality than speed, he generates late separation to get open. He was 3rd in receiving yards in the country. And, when I look at T-Mac's game, guys, I see a lot of Drake London, all right? They're pretty much identical in terms of the size. T-Mac's actually a little bit taller than Drake London is, but, they're not the most, physically imposing. Their short area quickness isn't the best, but they're very crafty route runners, and they consistently get open even against man coverage, even though, the physical skill set necessarily wouldn't point to that because they're such technicians as route runners. They both have great body control. They're both underrated after the catch as well. So I see a lot of Drake London and Tetairoa McMillan, and I think that any team that gets him is going to have he's going to really, really like the skill set that he brings to the table. Unfortunately, because of the body control, because of the hands, because of the spectacular catches that T-Mac is able to make, I don't think he's going to be able to make it to number 21 for the Steelers. Now, maybe if he gets outside the top 10, Omar Khan can think about trading up for him. I'd pick number 11, 12, 13 if he's still there, but I highly doubt he escapes the top 15 in this year's NFL draft. Next up on the list here for Mel is Ashton Jani, running back out of Boise State. And I just took Jeanty with the number 1 pick in my perfect Steelers offseason plan that you guys can check out later today as well. Here's what Mel Kiper Jr. had to say about the Heisman finalist. Jeanty displays excellent contact balance and toughness, which help him skirt past the first lane of defense and through traffic. And don't sleep on his receiving skills. Jeanty has sure hands out of the backfield and can be a true all-purpose back in the NFL. And listen, man, I think that the most important thing for the Steelers this offseason is to fix the run game, because last year they were a bottom 5 run game in terms of the efficiency that they ran the football with. They ran the football a lot. The efficiency was just not very good at all. And honestly, I think they need to have like an Ezekiel Elliott type of impact at RB1 this year. Remember, man, when the Cowboys took Zeke in the NFL draft that year, like they went from just like an okay team to a team that won 13 games, and they were a very, very high seed in the NFL playoffs that year. And they were considered one of the best teams in the league because of the big switch at the running back position. I think the Steelers need a similar impact at that position if they want to be legit Super Bowl contenders in 2025. And I think Jeanty would give the Steelers their best shot at doing that. He's super well-rounded. He's a little bit undersized, but honestly, that's kind of good. He makes him harder to tackle. He's always the lowest man, so he can run people over. He's got really, really good toughness, really good strength, and then great contact balance. And then he's got home run hitting long speed as well, which makes him extremely dangerous with the ball in his hands, which is why I took him with my first-round pick in my perfect Steelers offseason plan. Just put that out yesterday, guys. It's a comprehensive offseason plan, my ideal version of what I would like the Steelers offseason to look like. I'll put the link to that one in the comments and description of today's show, and I'll make sure to put the chip in the top right corner of your screen. And then number 1, Mr. Mel Kiper Jr., draft target for the Pittsburgh Steelers in round 1 is none other than Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan. This is what Kiper had to say about the stud DB out of the Wolverines. Johnson is so instinctive in coverage, and his ability to read quarterbacks jumps out when you watch him. He has great quickness in his transition, allowing him to make plays on the ball. He has 9 career picks. Johnson missed the team's last 6 games with a toe injury. And listen, man, I completely agree with Mel that Johnson is a great player, and I would love for him to be a Pittsburgh Steeler if he made it to our pick at number 21. But A, I don't think he makes it to pick number 21, and B, I'm not willing to necessarily trade up for a corner, especially if the Steelers are going to be spending some of their money in free agency on a guy like Carlton Davis or somebody else in free agency, which I think is probably going to be the plan for the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason. So before I go here, I want to talk about Kiper's positional rankings for the top positions of need that we talked about today: running back, wide receiver, and then cornerback. So the top 5 guys on Mel Kiper Jr.'s big board right now. We talked about Ashton Jani, who is in his top 25. But then after that, he's got Omarion Hampton out of UNC. At number 2, Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. I've said on the show that he reminds me a lot of James Conner out of Iowa. And then you got R.J. Harvey. Keep your eye on him out of UCF. And then Cam Scadabo, somebody we've also talked about on the show quite a bit. I think he'd be an awesome fit in Arthur Smith's offense. Then the wide receivers that Mr. Mel Kiper Jr. has right now, he has Travis Hunter listed as a wide receiver, so he's number 1 on his list. Tetairoa McMillan, the number 2 guy, we talked about him. Luther Burden the third, same with him. Then Emeka Egbuka, just outside the top 25 on Mel's big board. And then Jalen Royals is a physically talented but maybe a little bit more raw wide receiver out of Utah State to keep your eye on as well. Then when it comes to the corners, Will Johnson, Siobhan Revel are the 2 guys we talked about on today's show, but Benjamin Morrison, a really, really good man corner that Steelers fans should really be keeping their eye on here. I think Morrison would be a guy that the Steelers would consider taking with their round 1 pick just because of the scheme fit that he brings to the table. Then you got Johnny Barron out of Texas, Coop's team right there. He's a very good player. And then Trey Amos out of Ole Miss, also a good player the Steelers could consider on day 2. So shout out your guy down there in the comment section. Who do you want the Steelers to take in round 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin? And then tell me why you want the Steelers to take that player. Do you want Ashton Jani? Do you want Emeka Egbuka? Do you want somebody else? Let me know down there in the comments section what you guys want. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Coop and I, we are going live later this afternoon here on Tuesday, starting at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We've got 3 great segments of Steelers content coming your way this afternoon. So if you don't want to miss any of that, click that subscribe button and join us this afternoon.